Hey there guys, this is Richard, your host. Levi Ackerman is a man who needs no introduction. Deemed to be humanity's strongest, Levi managed to retain this title even after it was revealed that there was more to humanity than the ones who lived within the walls. He was just so strong. Not just because he was an Ackerman, but also because of his upbringing, his life experiences, and his mindset. His character is interesting, deep, and layered. However, it's not uncommon to come across people who only see Levi as a cool and badass character who's great at fighting. Levi's extensive but abnormal life has shaped him to be a complex human being, but due to his introverted and reserved nature, we don't get a direct insight into his mind. In today's video, we'll talk about the entire life of Levi Ackerman and how it's contributed to shaping him as a great soldier and an even greater man. Birth and upbringing. Levi's dishonorable life in the underground. Levi Ackerman was born in the underground city, located beneath the capital of the walls. It was a place that was originally created to expand habitable space within the walls, since it wasn't possible to expand outside due to the Titans. However, it turned into a place that mostly hosted the poor population who weren't allowed to have citizenship on the surface. Their poor conditions and ill health, with the latter resulting from a lack of sun exposure, led to the place becoming crime-ridden and overrun with criminals. Back when the 145th Eldian king Karl Fritz had relocated to Paradise and stripped the subjects of Ymir of their memories of the outside world, the Ackermans, who were immune to the memory-altering abilities of the founding Titan, took a stand against it, because the king believed that the Eldians within the wall should accept their fates due to the sins of their ancestors when Marley attempts to annihilate them. Those who retained their memories opposed them. The Ackermans, as products of Titan science, could tap into the power of Titans without turning into one, which practically made them superhuman due to their enhanced strength, speed, and durability. This also made them a warrior family that protected the king. With such an overpowered group of people taking a stand against the crown, a hit was put out to annihilate the clan. Following years of persecution, future generations of the family either moved to the mountains near the outer walls or to the underground city, where future generations of Ackermans grew up without knowledge of their lineage, as their forefathers tried to protect them from persecution. This, combined with the underground being crime-ridden and poor, led to Levi's mother, Kuchel, working as a prostitute. She gave birth to Levi after being impregnated by one of her clients. She seemingly loved and cared for Levi a lot, but eventually fell mortally ill. Because Levi was too young, he couldn't help his mother and sat by her bedside, malnourished and devoid of food, for days. One day, Kuchel's brother Kenny came to visit his sister when he realized that she was dead and that she left a scrawny kid. Being Levi's uncle, Kenny took him in and decided to raise him. However, Levi was oblivious to who the Ackermans were, the fact that he was an Ackerman and that Kenny was his uncle. Growing up with Kenny in the underground, Levi learned how to wield a knife to defend himself at an early age. He grew to become violent in true Ackerman fashion, and at some point of his life, experienced the Ackerman awakening. Unlike Mikasa's situation, we were never told of the reasons as to why Levi awakened his Ackerman instincts, but he has mentioned that it was something he'd experienced a couple of times throughout his life. Based on this information, Levi possessed a combination of skills he learned from Kenny and his experiences growing up in the underground and the skills he acquired via the paths due to his awakening. While Levi was still a kid, he once started a brawl, which he won with great ease. Kenny witnessed it and felt that he'd helped Levi learn everything he needed to survive in the harsh underground city, following which Kenny abandoned him. Kenny believed that he wasn't fit to be a father figure to someone, while Levi grew to resent Kenny after the incident since he was abandoned and left alone. Levi grew up to be quite short, standing tall at a mere height of 5 feet 2 inches. His height, or lack thereof, was not due to his genetics, but because he grew up malnourished up until Kenny took him in. The lack of sunlight exposure due to growing up in the underbelly of Paradise contributed to his stunted growth as well. Prelude, the road to joining the Survey Corps and learning to have no regrets. With time, Levi began to take up odd jobs in the underground city, most of them being illegal. He also grew to become a clean freak and notably hated having his hands smeared with blood, despite his life being ridden with violence. This was probably due to him experiencing life in a filthy, unsanitary place, which can somewhat be compared to how many people who grow up around alcoholics or chronic smokers swear off drinking or smoking in their lives. Levi found a partner in a guy named Furlan, whose personality contrasted that of Levi's. While Levi was much more stoic and nonchalant, Furlan had an upbeat attitude. Together, the two of them managed to get their hands on the vertical maneuvering equipment used by the members of the military, most notably the Survey Corps. At some point, a young girl named Isabel joined the two of them, and together, they'd use the maneuvering equipment to get their odd jobs done. Despite Levi's cold personality, he cared for his friends a great deal. He was also strong enough to never be bothered by the opposition, since he could fight off anyone and everyone with great ease. This was a given, however, since he was an Ackerman. On the surface world, Levi's future commander in the Survey Corps Erwin Smith had amassed a great deal of political enemies. This was possibly due to Erwin's father being a man who was executed by the military for suspecting the existence of humans beyond the walls. Naturally, the Crown could not have Erwin, who had seemingly inherited a similar viewpoint, run free. Due to Levi's notoriety and his being unrivaled, Erwin's political enemies sought after him to make Levi and his gang steal incriminating documents on Smith. In exchange, the three of them were promised a handsome payment and surface residency in the royal capital. This led to the Survey Corps tracking down the trio in the underground, and a chase between the two groups ensued, with Levi and co. using the vertical maneuvering equipment to flee and counter the Corps. Erwin Smith was part of the chase as well, and he was quick to pick up on Levi's skill set being far superior than that of the average person. Even with nothing but a knife, Levi was able to hold off his opposition, but the same couldn't be said for Isabel and Ferlin since they'd been taken down by the Corps. This forced Levi to surrender, especially with Mike Zacharias stuffing his head into a puddle, and he was met with an ultimatum from Smith. Either the three of them would be handed over to the military police, or they could put the skills to good use as part of the Survey Corps. Seeing no way out, Levi picked the second option, albeit reluctantly. This led to Levi joining the Survey Corps alongside Isabel and Ferlin. The three of them continued to harbor an agenda to kill Erwin by getting closer to him. Levi was curt while in the Corps and would often introduce himself informally to his superiors, which was jarring to everyone else. During their training, where they learned how to kill Titans, Levi went against common instructions on how to handle the weapons and did things his own way. Normally, this would get him into great trouble due to the strict and hierarchical nature prevalent in the military. However, because of Levi's abilities, people let him operate the way he wished without interfering. Following their training, Levi became part of the expeditions outside the walls, but his cooperation was a facade since he was still looking for documents that could put Erwin Smith in jeopardy. During one such expedition, a storm broke out, which created an opening for Levi to slip past and get on with his personal task. He prevented Isabel and Ferlin from joining him since the three of them being missing in action could blow off their cover. However, an abnormal Titan took advantage of the storm and took out several members of Levi's group of cadets, including Isabel and Ferlin. Pure Titans generally lacked such levels of intelligence, which is why the Titan in this situation would be considered abnormal. It's also not impossible for an abnormal Titan to have minimal intelligence. Levi noticed Titan footprints in the storm and dashed back to where his members were. Unfortunately, he was too late and was met with the dead bodies of Isabel and Ferlin, with him finding Isabel's decapitated head while he witnessed Ferlin's body being bitten in half by the Titan. Having lost his mother early, being abandoned by Kenny, and grown up in harsh conditions, Levi was quite possibly lonely as a person. As such, losing Isabel and Ferlin, the two people he loved and cared for more than anyone else, came as a huge blow to him. He immediately went into a fit of rage and ruthlessly took out the red-eyed abnormal Titan that had killed his two loved ones. The saddest part about this moment was that Levi failed to avenge his friends despite taking out the Titan because of his enemy's lack of emotions and intelligence. A mindless monster killed Isabel and Ferlin for no personal reason, affecting Levi's state of mind. And in return, a distraught Levi, who was also consumed by his guilt over leaving the two of them alone, killed a mindless being who was incapable of understanding value. Erwin's squad eventually arrived at the place where the action took place and saw the sole survivor Levi in mourning. He even called Levi pathetic for being the only person who was alive, which angered a resentful Levi even more. He responded by attacking Smith and made his real intentions of killing him crystal clear. However, Erwin was already aware of everything and knew that Levi had found the documents he was looking for. In a twist of events, Erwin revealed that those documents were fake and that the real ones had already been sent to Premier Dallas Zachary. This meant that everything Levi did after joining the Corps had been for nothing, which made matters around Isabel and Ferlin's deaths even worse. Distraught, Levi scolded Erwin for letting the three of them join the Scout Regiment if he knew the truth, especially because he deeply regretted his actions and blamed himself. However, Erwin advised Levi to not have regrets because it was a sentiment that was highly capable of dulling future decisions. In the end, Erwin expressed his hopes for Levi to continue with the Survey Corps and be part of future expeditions. This formed the basis of the relationship between Levi Ackerman and Erwin Smith, who came to appreciate his commander and life in general. Levi acknowledged that Erwin could see something that Levi himself was blind to, which led to him deciding that he would never regret his decision to join the Survey Corps. Levi in Season 1, the introduction of humanity's strongest. By the time Levi appears during the events of Attack on Titan Season 1, he's already well integrated and acquainted with the members of the Survey Corps, and he's the captain of his own Special Operations Squad. From the very beginning, he was referred to as humanity's strongest soldier, notorious for being as strong as a brigade. He kept his stoic personality, but wasn't exempt from having a sense of humor, although his humor was very curt and dry, as noted when he made fun of Hanji for being a four-eyed abnormal Titan. He'd also grown to care for the lives of his comrades, which were always in jeopardy due to the hazardous nature of his profession. And unlike him, the others were not superhumans, which would always create a situation where Levi would lose people who were close to him, but he himself would manage to survive. We see this in his very first on-screen battle, where he easily takes out several pure Titans and makes a fuss over getting his hand with Titan blood. However, after seeing a fallen comrade who, in his final moments, wishes for his death to not be in vain, Levi holds his bloodied hand and promises him that humanity has taken great strides towards a brighter future and that Levi will ensure that the Titans get eradicated. He reappears during the Battle of Trostark as he takes down one of the Titans that were trying to get in Eren's way, while the latter was plugging the hole in Wall Rose. Due to Eren being a Titan, however, he was taken into custody and temporarily jailed. Levi arrives with Erwin, and Eren, being a human who can shift into a Titan, acts as a motivator for Erwin, who wants to know the truth about the outside world. This is amplified by Eren's father leaving the key of his basement with him. Both Erwin and Levi desire for Eren to join the Survey Corps. During the court proceedings, a restrained Eren acts out to vouch for his own innocence because the higher-ups begin to target Mikasa for her absurd strength. Levi quickly gets close to Eren and beats him black and blue. While the sight is shocking for everyone, Levi does it to make the court believe that he can take down Eren if he acts out. This reassurance allows the Survey Corps to take Eren in, especially with Levi promising that if he ever gets out of control, he'll kill Eren. This creates the impression that despite Eren being seemingly invincible due to his Titan powers, humanity still has the upper hand with Levi on their side. But Levi's state of mind and strength truly come under the spotlight during the female Titan arc. During one of the expeditions beyond the walls, the flanks of the Survey Corps get attacked by the female Titan. Every flank is given different information about Eren's position, who's been placed in the safest area of Erwin's formation and guarded by Squad Levi. Because Armin is able to brainstorm and deduce where exactly Eren is, he shares that information with the curious Reiner. But Reiner is a traitor and relays that information to Annie, or the female Titan, who then heads towards the Titan forest to attack Eren and take him back to Marley. With the female Titan running to catch up to Squad Levi, Eren and the squad members begin to get flustered while Levi maintains a nonchalant demeanor, reluctant to strike back and instead forcing straight ahead. He does this because he knows of Erwin's plan to capture the female Titan and hopes to lead it there. At the same time, Eren doesn't have the same camaraderie with Erwin as Levi does, and he also lacks the captain's level of experience and maturity. For him, turning into a Titan seems to be the safest course of action. With Eren bringing his thumb near his mouth to cause self-injury, Levi catches on to what's going on despite looking at Eren. He tells Eren that he's free to do whatever he wants because it's clear that Eren is a true monster, and his monstrosity has nothing to do with his Titan abilities but his inherent personality that can't be held down by anything because he can't be forced into submission. Eren excitedly expressing his desire to slaughter Titans while in the dungeon was what led Levi to this conclusion. Today, this scene makes a lot more sense than when we watched it for the very first time because Eren turned his words into his reality as he annihilated 80% of the world's population. Not only did this scene give us an insight into Levi's fantastic intuition, but also we get a better glimpse into his state of mind as he spoke about never knowing the result of any decisions made during these high-risk expeditions. Even when he believed in himself or his comrades, the result was always a mystery. For this, he asks Eren to either believe in himself and fight off the female Titan, or let Squad Levi handle the situation, because no matter whatever decision he makes, he should focus on making one he won't regret, instead of focusing on what should be done and what should not. Ultimately, Eren chooses to trust his comrades and refrains from turning into a Titan. This leads to Erwin's plan working out as the female Titan gets captured. Levi separates from his squad to reunite with Erwin since they plan to extract the human wielder from the nape of the female Titan. He attacks the Titan with Mike Zacharias, but their attacks are foiled by Annie's selective hardening. She's bombarded with explosives and threatened by Levi, but in the end, she uses her mimicry ability to summon pure Titans with a roar and allow them to eat her. Because Annie had already trained with the cadets and had vertical maneuvering equipment at her disposal, she uses that to flee the scene, take out some other soldiers, and transform once again, but in a different location within the forest. This transformation takes place right behind Eren's flank, where he's operating alongside the members of Squad Levi, namely Petra, Eld, Gunter, and Oluo. The four of them decide to take down the female Titan and launch a series of successful attacks. They blind the Titan and try to shear off its arm muscles to prevent it from guarding the nape. However, Annie outsmarts them as she regenerates only one eye instead of both, which messes up the squad's timed attacks and allows Annie to launch her counterattack. She annihilates the squad and kills everyone in front of Eren's eyes and Levi's absence. She then fights a transformed Eren while Levi reaches the side of action and is met with the decimated bodies of his squad members. He refrains from showing any expression like he had when Isabel and Furlan were killed, but the dead look in his eyes tells us everything we need to know. Mikasa reaches the location as well and witnesses Eren get defeated and captured by the female Titan. As the latter begins to flee, Mikasa attacks her, but despite her strength as an Ackerman, she lacks the necessary experience. Levi unites with her, which creates a ray of hope previously flickered by Armin, who believes that the two of them have a chance when it comes to taking the female Titan down. In her distraught state of mind, Mikasa blames Levi for not protecting Eren, but Levi doesn't argue with her or try to discipline her because he understands what she's going through. And in general, it's easier to shift the blame on someone to cope with grief, which is what Levi had done after Isabel and Ferlin died, blaming Erwin for letting them join the Survey Corps despite knowing that Levi wanted him dead. Levi advises Mikasa to distract the female Titan, but not go in for the kill due to its ability to harden the skin. He then launches his attack on Annie, showing us how quick and offensive he can be, so much so that he doesn't give Annie the window to even start hardening her skin. Once she is incapacitated, Mikasa disobeys Levi's orders and tries to attack the nape, hoping to kill the mysterious wielder, but she fails to notice Annie's hardened fist. To save Mikasa, Levi tries to multitask, but in the process, his left leg gets injured. Before fleeing, however, he manages to cut through the Titan's facial muscles and rescue Eren. The Survey Corps retreat and try to make it through the open fields and to the walls, where they get attacked by pure Titans once again. Although the dead bodies of soldiers are recovered, Levi has to witness Petra's body being used to distract the pure Titans away from them. When one of the members laments over the missing bodies of his loved ones, Levi hands him a Survey Corps emblem he'd picked up from a late soldier's uniform and gifts it to him as a memento. Following this, they reach the town of Karanis, where the Corps are met with the public's hostility for wasting their tax money on missions that do nothing for the sake of humanity. While Levi walks the streets, Petra's father comes up to him and mentions his daughter being part of Squad Levi. He talks about the letters she'd sent him and feels proud of Levi for respecting her skills. He doesn't know that Petra is dead, and because she'd written in her letter that she wanted to devote her life to Levi, he assumed that she wanted to marry him. He speaks to Levi in jest about it, stating that she's too young to get married and has a lot to experience in life. Meanwhile, Levi walks with a bewildered expression on his face because not only has he lost his entire squad and is in grief over it while being oblivious to whether the sacrifice has any worth or not, but also he can't bring himself to break the news to her father. In future episodes, the identity of the female Titan is revealed and an operation in Stohes district, which is where Annie was placed with the military police brigade, is launched. However, due to Levi's leg injury, he doesn't participate in the operation while Mikasa regrets her actions since it was her mistake that led to Levi being put out of action. During the battle between Eren and Annie in their Titan forms, Levi sticks by Erwin, who's being targeted by the military police for turning the district into a battlefield. He later steps in to bring Eren out of his Titan as Eren had gone berserk and had begun to merge with the female Titan. Season 2. Levi on the sidelines. Levi's injury keeps him out of the main action in the second season as well, and he's mostly seen operating with Hanji and Erwin and participating in interrogation. Following the events at the Ragako village and Utgard Castle, Hanji and Connie work alongside and theorize that it's possible for Titans to have formerly been humans. While Erwin is ecstatic to hear the news due to it supporting his and his father's theory, Levi is offended over being someone who's gone around killing humans in the name of humanity. Erwin's smile as a result of such a gruesome revelation also gives Levi the ick, and he doesn't shy away from expressing that to Erwin directly. Throughout everything, it can be seen that Levi is more similar to Mikasa than to other characters such as Hanji, Eren, Armin, and Erwin, and this is due to the nature of their goals. Eren wants to eradicate his enemies and be free. Armin wants to see the ocean. Erwin wants to learn the truth of the outside world, and Hanji wants to know about the real nature of the Titans. In contrast, Mikasa wants to protect Eren and Armin, and Levi wants to exterminate Titans, not for the sake of it, but to not let the deaths of his comrades go to waste. The goals of the Ackerman duo seem to be less idealistic and more in line with protecting, avenging, or valuing the people in their lives. We know that Levi has lost a lot of people who he loved and cared for. Despite his strength, he can't save everyone, so he's come to accept death with age. However, the one thing he refuses to accept is for their deaths to be for nothing. This is why, like Eren, Levi also keeps moving forward to one day free the world of Titans. However, there's a dichotomy here which is seen in the way Levi fights. It's not just the fact that he's absurdly strong, but he has a very open fighting style. Levi never puts his guard up or defends himself. He's extremely offensive and violent, which is dangerous for his opponent but also for himself because it makes him more susceptible to getting taken out. This shows that despite Levi keeping a cold front and striving to make the deaths of his comrades matter, somewhere in his heart, Levi has little regard for his own life. Season 3. The absolute peak of Levi Ackerman. This section can be divided into two parts, much like the season itself. Let's address the first part, which takes place during the Uprising or the Royal Government arc. The tone of Attack on Titan begins to see notable shifts starting from here, as the story gets more political and humanity finds their new enemies in, well, other humans. With Levi's previous Special Operations Squad being put out of commission due to them being killed, he picks his members from the 104th Training Corps, which is the regiment Eren, Armin, and Mikasa trained with. This puts the three of them, Historia, Sasha, Connie, and Jean, directly under him. Due to Eren being hunted down since he has the Attack Titan and, more importantly, the Coordinate and Historia being one of the important people mentioned, Levi makes them retreat to a remote cabin so that they can be protected. Keep in mind that no one knows about Eren having the founding titan at this point in the story. The goal of the Survey Corps here is to use Eren to seal the hole in Wall Maria. Because Annie could harden, Levi gives Hanji the green signal to experiment with Eren to check whether he could do something similar or not. They also learn of Historia's background as the bastard daughter of Rod Reyes, which is why the scouts need to protect her since Rod Reyes is looking to kidnap both Historia and Eren. Meanwhile, Hanji and Moblet learn about Pastor Nick being killed after a gruesome interrogation, but Levi deduces that he must not have revealed any information despite the torture, since all of his fingernails were pulled out. If he were the type to spill the beans, he would have done so after a nail or two being pulled out and wouldn't have put up with the violence till he died. The government also put a halt to all Survey Corps activities to actively hunt down Eren and Historia. Erwin lets Levi know about the military police being on the way to the cabin, so the new Levi squad leaves their safe house and gets to the rendezvous point. Levi and Mikasa lay low, and he asks her to tell the others that this time around, the soldiers have to kill humans. Soon, a carriage crashes through and kidnaps Eren and Historia, oblivious to the fact that they captured Jean and Armin in disguise. The kidnappers are tracked by Squad Levi, and Mikasa takes them out before they can realize that they've been deceived. They also learn about the merchant boss, Demo Reeves, whom Mikasa had almost killed in Season 1, being the leader of the kidnapping squad. Levi tries to engage in a dialogue with Reeves to learn what deal the interior military police had made him, only to find out that he was threatened with his company's downfall, which would lead to the unemployment and deaths of his employees. So, Levi negotiates with Demo to get him on their side. He tells him that he'll hand over both Eren and Historia to him if the Reeves company works with the Survey Corps and against the military police if they place their trust in the Corps and if they give the Corps priority access to luxury goods. The deal is struck and Reeves baits Ralph and Jel Sands from the Interior First Squad into a trap, and they're subsequently captured by the Survey Corps. Levi and Hanji torture Sands to get information out of them and pull out his fingernails to make him crack, the way he had with Pastor Nick. While Sands asserts that he did what he did to Pastor Nick to maintain peace within the walls, an unsympathetic Levi suggests amping up the severity of the torture to procure information, most importantly, to learn about the true identity of Historia's family, that is, the Reyes. Sands eggs Levi on to torment him even more, stating that being the torturer and the power that comes with it can be a great feeling. This disgusts Levi, who has a strict moral compass and despite his seeming ruthlessness, is not a power-hungry freak. He leaves the room and ensures that Sands overhears a staged conversation between Levi and Ralph. The conversation makes Sands think that Ralph has betrayed him by spilling the information and by having no care for his well-being. This finally makes Sands crack and he tells the Corps about Reyes being the true royal family. After the Corps members learn the truth about the Reyes family and the current King Fritz on the throne being a new figurehead, they discuss how they can put Historia on the throne as the queen. Historia is shocked because she herself was unaware of the Reyes being royalty. Levi also states that the main goal of the revolution they're conducting is to put Historia on the throne. A panicked Historia claims that it's impossible for her to become the queen of humanity, and Levi pretends to understand her when he says that most people in her position would not step up in these circumstances. However, he also makes it clear that he has no choice in this and that she has to do it. While Historia claims to be unfit for it, Levi grabs her by the collar and hoists her up in the air, asking her to go on the run if she refuses because the Survey Corps will do everything in their power to make her the queen. His stance during this moment is quite aggressive with her, since the Survey Corps are in a desperate situation and a lot rests on Historia's actions. The squad members find his conduct upsetting, but Levi tells them about the lives of their comrades and basic necessities such as food and shelter not being guaranteed due to their life circumstances. He talks about normal people not thinking of such things, but he considers himself to be abnormal because he's seen too many abnormal things in his life. But his way of conduct is also the reason why if Wall Rose got breached again the next day, he'd be the fastest to react. The reason why Levi is so strong and capable isn't just his lineage and battle experience, but it's a result of the worldview he's acquired in his life and the way he approaches every single moment or threat. Levi knows that the others in the squad have seen abnormal things as well, and their lives or well-being are not guaranteed. This is why he wants to do everything in his power to bring the recurring nightmare to an end. He knows there are many people who would get in his way, but Levi is okay with being the lunatic who kills them or rearrange their faces because, to him, humans fighting each other is better than humans spending their lives in fear of being eaten. Because that way, at least a portion of humanity will survive. This is another instance of Levi's state of mind contrasting that of his companions because, well, for most people, the human versus Titan conflict is simpler to deal with since most Titans are considered to be mindless beasts. They're not intelligent, emotional, and social beings like humans. But with Historia becoming the queen of humanity, she'll have absolute power, and this means many lives can be saved. So he puts the decision on Historia's shoulders, but he does it in such a way that she has no choice but to cooperate because he rushes her. In the end, she cracks under the pressure and agrees to become the queen. Following this, the kidnapping Levi had given the Reeves the green signal, for in order to track down Rod Reyes goes wrong because Demo's men are killed and the blame for the murders is pinned on the Survey Corps. This brings in new enemies. Levi is particularly bothered with the Interior First Squad figuring out the deception of the Reeves company because someone would have to think like him to do that. This means that the person who had the same thoughts as Levi could be none other than Kenny the Ripper. That is, the person who raised Levi and later abandoned him. The tactics used by the squad reaffirm his suspicions, and although a fellow soldier, Nefer, mentions the stories of Kenny the Ripper being an urban legend, Levi tells her that he is real since they lived together when he was a kid. His worst suspicions turn out to be correct, as Kenny appears right behind him in vertical maneuvering equipment modified to work with guns instead of swords. Kenny launches a shot that Levi dodges, but it takes Nefer out. It's also strange how Kenny is working with the Interior Military Police, since he acquired his notoriety as Kenny the Ripper for killing several members of the military police. Either way, this gives us the iconic scene with Levi screaming Kenny's name, followed by one of the greatest moments of Sakuga quality animation in anime. This is also one of the very few times where we witness Levi's attacks get blocked and defended well, since Kenny is an Ackerman himself. So, like Levi and Mikasa, he has superhuman abilities. While Levi is at a disadvantage during the chase sequence, he focuses on dodging attacks at first and crashes into a bar. After Kenny comes in, he uses the gun kept in bars for safety and assesses Kenny's location via his reflection on the wine bottles. Kenny wonders why Levi joined the Survey Corps and guesses it's due to Levi inherently making a hobby out of his violent tendencies, which is similar to how Kenny operated in life. Levi questions Kenny if he believed that killing soldiers was a fun hobby, but Kenny admits saying that he'll kill anyone to get the job done, much like Levi himself. Levi agrees with that and shoots Kenny with the barkeeper's rifle. Kenny defends against it with a chair, but is temporarily halted, allowing Levi to take the upper hand. He then kills several members of Kenny's anti-personnel control squad out, using one of the soldiers as a human shield to defend himself from bullets. He rushes to his squad while he's chased, and kills police before letting his companions know about their plan being leaked. He urges them to kill their pursuers, which is a first for them since they've not killed humans before. Unfortunately, Eren and Historia get captured, and Armin kills a member of the military police to save Jean. He's deeply bothered by taking a life and being willing to do so, but Levi comforts him by telling him that he pulled the trigger because he knew that not doing so would lead to Jean's death. Jean himself confesses that at first he thought Levi's way of doing things was wrong, but he didn't wish to fire because he didn't want to hurt other people. To this, Levi tells him that Jean's moment of softness jeopardized their squad for a moment, but it's not about being right or wrong. If anything, Jean may not have been the one in the wrong. Later, Levi and his squad get a hold of Marlowe and Hitch from the military police, who had been sent to the forest to look for soldiers from the Survey Corps. They try to take the uniforms to infiltrate the military police and find Eren and Historia, but Hitch argues with Levi over the civilian deaths as collateral damage in the Stohess district battle and Annie's subsequent disappearance. Levi lets them know about Annie's truth and that she's being held, and he also confirms that the members of the Reeves Company were killed by the Interior Police and not the Survey Corps. To set things straight after the misconception, Marlowe offers to cooperate with the Survey Corps and help them, which is likely to be more successful with him actually being part of the military police. After procuring the necessary information from Marlowe and Hitch, Levi and the others attack an Interior Military Police compound. Levi's squad takes one hostage after disabling some of the police, planning to interrogate them to find out the location of Historia and Eren. However, the MP refuses to talk and begins to threaten Levi, saying that Eren and Historia will be executed and that Levi and co. should just surrender. Because Levi keeps pressing for more information and breaks the man's hand, he's forced to confess that he doesn't know the whereabouts of Eren and Historia due to Kenny being very tight-lipped about it. This is also the first time Kenny's surname is mentioned in the anime, which surprises both Mikasa and Levi as they hear the name Ackerman. Hanji, Marlowe and Hitch appear soon after and talk about the false charges against the Survey Corps being dropped. She also has a lead on the location of Eren and Historia due to Eren having had a report commissioned on the Reyes estate. On the day while Maria had fallen, bandits burned down the village while the Reyes family was inside. Rod Reyes was the only one who had survived, and a few days later, he'd contacted his illegitimate daughter, Historia. She also suspected that if Eren and Historia were kidnapped by Rod Reyes, they'd be taken to the Reyes estate for Eren to get eaten at some point for the other party to obtain his Titan powers. Hearing this, Levi comes to the conclusion that the Reyes bloodline must be special. He also agrees with Hanji on the destroyed underground chapel in the estate being strange, since being set on fire by bandits shouldn't have torn it down due to it being a stone building. Rod Reyes rebuilding the place with his own assets didn't make sense either. With a strong lead, Levi warns his squad that Kenny will be their biggest obstacle due to him being as strong as Levi. He even begins to question Mikasa about whether it's possible for her and Kenny to be related due to them sharing the same last name, but she doesn't know much about it either. She tells him about her father's family being persecuted, but she doesn't know why they went through that. The nail in the coffin is when Levi asks her about ever experiencing a sudden surge of power, which Mikasa confirms. Levi mentions that both he and Kenny had had similar moments in their lives which led them to suddenly knowing exactly what to do and being able to do it. On arriving at the chapel, the Survey Corps take on Kenny's anti-personnel control squad. They use oil, signal flares, and their opponent's blind spots to fight them, while Levi engages Kenny in battle. Despite the versus between the two of them being more or less even, Levi manages to slash through Kenny's stomach and wound him. By the time they reach Eren, Historia has already broken Rod Reyes' rib as well as the vial with Titan serum. When they see him, they witness Rod transforming into his absurdly ginormous Titan, which begins to break the stone chapel. Eren finds the hardening serum which was created using Titan science and injects it into himself to protect his companions, including Levi, using Titan hardening. Later, Levi realizes that even after Eren was cut out of the structure he'd hardened, the hardening did not disappear. He sees this as a huge development, as it can be used to seal the hole in Wall Maria. Erwin and Levi's squad meet up to deal with Rod Reyes' abnormal Titan. Historia volunteers to deal the killing blow to win the trust of the people, and Levi agrees after having threatened her to fight, even after pushing her to stay out of action due to her being the future queen. Meanwhile, Kenny had gotten mortally wounded after getting caught in the crossfire of Rod Reyes' transformation. He's found sitting under a tree by Levi and one of his subordinates. With Levi and Kenny left alone, Kenny shows Levi a vial of Titan serum. Levi knows that if Kenny had to use it, he'd have done so already. Levi here also knows about the first king Karl Fritz and his desire to not let humanity survive, so he asks Kenny about it. Kenny doesn't have the answer, but he knows that it was a reason that led to the Ackermans opposing him and their subsequent persecution. Because Levi also knows that he's an Ackerman due to him having experienced the awakening, he asks Kenny about his connection to his mother Kuchel. Kenny casually tells him that he's just her brother, and Levi is shocked to learn that he and Kenny are related. He asks him why he abandoned him that day, and Kenny replies saying that he did so because he believed he wasn't fit to be a guardian. Right before his death, Kenny gives Levi the Titan serum. Later, the members of the Survey Corps unite at the Royal Palace for Historia's coronation as the new queen. Following the fiasco where Levi threatened her and Historia couldn't oppose, she's egged on by Mikasa to punch Levi, knowing that her authority is higher than his. While the other members of the squad are afraid, Historia gathers her courage and punches Levi in the arm. Everyone's shocked while Mikasa smiles. Levi matches his clan member as he smiles instead of getting angry and thanks everyone. He goes on to back Historia up in providing shelter to the poor people and orphans, specifically because he grew up in the underground city. Meanwhile, Erwin Smith begins to brainstorm on how they should go about the expedition to retake Shiganshina and plug the hole in Wall Maria. He also gives the Titan serum to Levi, since he has the highest chances of survival due to his strength, which allows him to take the final call when it comes to using it. Levi also doesn't want Erwin to be part of the mission due to his weakened health and his not having an arm. Erwin, however, is adamant about going to Shiganshina because he wishes to see what is in Grisha Jaeger's basement, allowing Levi to realize that he can't stop Erwin no matter how much he threatens to break his legs. However, he continues to fear for Erwin's life since he's grown to become extremely close to his commander after their sour beginning. That night, Levi breaks up a fight between Eren and Jean and overhears Armin talking about his dreams of seeing the ocean, burning waters, lands made of ice and sand, and other natural phenomena. However, it lowers and darkens his expression, probably because Levi knows how dangerous the next mission is going to be and how he might die before getting to fulfill his dreams. This moment would become monumental during the next arc. After this, we have the second half of the season where Levi manages to keep the spotlight on himself, if not intensify it. The fact that it takes place during the Return to Shiganshina arc, which is considered to be one of the greatest arcs in anime, solidifies Levi's character even more than it already is. As the next arc kicks in, Levi gathers with the other members of the Survey Corps, while the citizens of Trost cheer for their success. Of course, this is a rarity because for the longest time, the Survey Corps have been the subject of the people's criticism, but their success during the Uprising arc with putting the true queen on the throne and taking out Rod Reyes earned them the people's admiration. One of the people called Levi out by name to cheer for him, but Levi acted modest in return, referring to them as selfish for suddenly caring about their well-being. However, when he notices Erwin cheering back at the people, he stops himself from being morbid. The Survey Corps move at night to reach Shiganshina since Titans are generally inactive post-sunset. On reaching Shiganshina, Levi, alongside his companions, notices that there are no Titans around. This is suspicious since the place should have been overrun by Titans due to both the gates of Wall Maria having been breached. However, there were no Titans outside the walls either. As promising as this sounds, Levi is quick to claim that the absence of their enemies means that they've fallen into their enemies' hands, which is why they're being met with such an unusual circumstance. They can't abandon the plan now though, and the members decide to proceed with it. Eren plugs in one of the walls while Armin finds a campsite-type setting, which tells him that 3 people have camped here and have consumed some mysterious but good-smelling beverage. Unable to find anyone, be it Reiner or Berthold, Armin suddenly remembers the moment where he witnessed the Titans in the walls after the battle in Stohess district. Panicked, he asks the others to check for cavities in the walls, and his intuition turns out to be correct when one of the soldiers taps on a wall cavity and is immediately attacked by Reiner, who's hiding inside. As Reiner attacks the soldier, Levi swoops in from atop the walls and shoves his sword into Reiner's throat as it juts out of the nape. Despite taking damage around the nape, Reiner survives the ordeal, which disappoints Levi. It's later revealed that Reiner's armored titan had the special ability to transfer its consciousness around the body, which left him in a vegetative state but also allowed him to survive attacks around the nape. Reiner then shifts into his armored titan form while Levi regroups with Erwin Smith. The scene outside the walls changes as well, with several pure titans appearing out of nowhere alongside Zeke's beast titan and Piek's cart titan. Obviously, all of this happens before the people of Paradise learn about Zeke being able to turn Eldians into titans. Erwin lays out his orders to his subordinates but asks Levi to stay back because he entrusts him with killing the beast titan. As Levi begins to make his moves, he orders his soldiers to not die and takes out 2 titans. Throughout every battle sequence, it's always evident that Levi is willing to make sacrifices and be as brutal as necessary, but he doesn't wish to cope with the grief of his subordinates, friends, and loved ones dying over and over again while he continues to survive. Things really hit the fan when the beast titan starts pitching broken stones like a game of baseball. The situation seems helpless and dire across every side, since Zeke's pitches immobilize the horses, which were the Corps' only way of transport. Erwin reaffirms the sentiment to Levi, to which the latter asks if Erwin has any plan or not. Levi knows that the survival of humanity, although slim, rests on the survival of Erwin and Eren. However, the one plan Erwin has where Levi takes out the Beast Titan requires Erwin to sacrifice himself because what he plans for is a suicide charge. A suicide charge carried out by all the new recruits in their remaining horses and led by Erwin Smith to give them morale. In this charge, they'll shoot out signal flares while Zeke takes them out with his pitches. Meanwhile, the flares will allow Levi to secretly take out all the pure titans by Zeke's side, using their napes to maneuver around with the ODM and get close to Zeke to kill him. Although the plan can work, it'll defeat Erwin's purpose, who's desperate to see what is in Eren's basement. It'll signal the end of his dream after almost coming to the finish line. However, this is the only way out, which is why Levi tells Erwin to give up on his dreams and die. In return, he swears to kill the Beast Titan, and so the charge begins, and it works out perfectly, almost. Zeke can't fathom why the Survey Corps would conduct such a charge, but he's even more confused when he notices that the pure titans around him have been slain. From the smoke generated by the signal flares, Levi emerges to take down the beast. Zeke throws his arm to block him, but in true fidget spinner fashion, Levi slices through it and chops it into pieces. Zeke is instantly reminded of the time Bertolt and Reiner told him about being wary of Levi because he was dangerous. Before Zeke can counterattack, Levi violently takes out his eyes and slashes through the back of his ankles, making Zeke fall to the ground in his Titan form. He's simply too fast for the beast. Levi accuses Zeke of having too much fun while killing the Survey Corps, so he only wants the beast to have more fun while Levi kills him. Zeke tries to harden his nape, but he's not fast enough as Levi brutally slashes through it with a flurry of attacks and snatches Zeke's human body outside his Titan using his sword. Finally, Levi sticks the sword into Zeke's mouth and makes it pop out of his head, although the anime senses this moment. Instead of killing Zeke immediately, Levi waits for someone from the suicide charge to be alive so that he can use the Titan serum and feed Zeke to him. Unfortunately, the cart Titan snatches Zeke away, leaving Levi in shock, whose last promise to Erwin was to kill the Beast Titan. Levi chases after Zeke and the cart Titan and re-enters Shiganshina district, but he's stopped soon because he's out of gas and more blades. He sees Eren and asks him for his ammunition, but Eren asks Levi to use the Titan serum to feed Bertolt to a dying Armin. Levi's not very keen on doing it right at the moment since he has to fulfill Erwin's final order, but he knows better than to let his momentary impulse override his actions that will help humanity in the future. He's about to give Eren the vial of Titan serum when Flock appears out of the blue, carrying a wounded and nearly dead Erwin Smith on his back. This changes the game since Erwin is much more of a priority to Levi and humanity as a whole than Armin. Naturally, Levi refuses to save Armin and chooses to save Erwin instead, which Mikasa and Eren refuse to comply with. Eren squares up with Levi, who knocks Eren down with a punch, breaking his teeth. Seeing this, Mikasa lashes out and lunges at Levi. She pins him down, but due to the chain of command in the military, doesn't smash the serum out of Levi's hands. Instead, she angrily pleads with him to hand the serum over to her. Eren tries to explain that every plan, such as plugging the hole in trust, figuring out Annie, Reiner, and Berthold's identities, moving at night, taking down the colossal Titan, and checking the walls, was because of Armin. Humanity can't survive without him. But Levi feels the same for Erwin, whose plans of insanity have led humanity so far and who gave up his life right before witnessing his dream come true. With the others trying to remove Eren and Mikasa from the location, Levi tries to inject the serum into Erwin, who suddenly raises his arm in his moment of death and murmurs asking his schoolteacher, who was his father, if it's possible for humanity to exist beyond the walls. This comes as a moment of epiphany for Levi, and it takes us back to the time when he overheard Armin talking about wanting to see the ocean before seeing the snowy lands of sand, lakes of ice, and burning water. The difference between Erwin and Armin lay in the fact that Erwin was willing to give up on his dream and die. He also only had one dream, and that was to know the truth. When Levi asked him to give up on it, Erwin's face showed relief. In contrast, neither was Armin willing to give up on his dreams even in death, nor would he reach the finish line on seeing the ocean. We must also refer to his final moments with Kenny to understand Levi better here. Right before his death, Kenny spoke about facets such as money, power, women, greed, and other vices. He believed that everyone was a slave to something. According to this, Levi was a slave to his desire not to let the deaths of his comrades go to waste. Eren was a slave to his desire for freedom. Mikasa was a slave to her need to protect those she loved. Erwin was a slave to his need to learn the truth, so much so that he was willing to let innocents die for his goal, which is why Erwin spoke about standing atop a mountain of corpses who were led to their deaths by Erwin himself. In this story about freedom, however, Armin's dreams represented this concept better than everyone else's. The sea is also symbolic of freedom, which is why the seagulls in their wings or the dream to see the endless ocean have been used so often in the story. Erwin had also led a full life, but Armin had not. The thematic and character-driven concepts across all these elements led to Levi choosing to save Armin over Erwin. But most importantly, Levi wanted to free Erwin from the hell of life so that he could finally rest. While Armin is revived, Levi apologizes to Erwin for failing to kill the Beast Titan. However, it lays down the foundation for the final season, where Levi single-mindedly dedicates himself to killing the beast. After Armin learns of the events that took place following his getting burnt to a crisp, he begins to feel regret over the measures his comrades have taken for him. While the revival of Armin passes the torch from Erwin to him, we see Levi tell Armin the same thing he'd learned from Erwin, and that is to not have any regrets. In a way, Levi passes down not just the torch, but also Erwin's ideology. Following this, Levi is part of the group to reach the basement and learn the truth of the world. The information is later revealed to the rest of the population within the walls, and Levi meets with Hanji, Roy, and Pure to discuss how the people are dealing with the big reveal. Months pass by, and Hanji's Executioner of Hell comes to life, which immediately takes out Titans like a self-performing guillotine. Shiganshina gets repopulated and inhabited once again, and the Titans outside the walls are cleared out. This creates a new window for the Survey Corps, and they head out for an expedition once again. Eren knows the direction to the ocean, thanks to Grisha's memories, and Levi, alongside Hanji, Eren, Mikasa, Armin, Jean, Connie, and Sasha, reach the ocean. Despite mostly keeping a straight face, Levi stares in bewilderment at the vast ocean, but he's also the only one to not go into the water. He even tells Hanji that whatever she's trying to get a hold of might be poisonous, showing us that Levi can be a mixed bag of emotions. He's not incapable of being shocked or emotional, but he still continues to be the cautious type even after taking out all their enemies. In this case, the Titans outside the walls. Season 4, Time Skip. 1 year after reclaiming Shiganshina district, the Survey Corps make contact with Onion, Kopan, and Yelena, who are anti-Marleyan volunteers. Meeting them lead to the Survey Corps learning about the advanced technology that Marley and the other countries have access to. Meanwhile, Paradise has to catch up to their peers if they want to survive. With knowledge of the outside world, they go on to use Eren's attack titan to take out ships sent to Paradise from Marley. At this moment, they're also well aware of the outside world, considering them to be devils. Interestingly, they own up to it, and Levi often threatens outsiders appearing on the shores of Paradise with his swords. Levi then arrives in Marley with his crew, where he's mistaken for a kid by a clown due to his short stature. He also saves a refuge boy who had pickpocketed Sasha and was about to face the wrath of the people. This infiltration plan lays down the foundation for the future raid on Liberio. Eren separates from his group and stays back in Marley while the others go back to Paradise. After pretending to be an injured soldier from Marley's war against the Mideast Allied forces, Eren uses Falco to send letters from Marley to Paradise. On the day Willy Tiber declares war against Paradise because Eren had the founding Titan, Eren launches his attack. He's assisted by the Survey Corps, albeit reluctantly since they don't agree with Eren's methods, but they nonetheless help Eren out because this is their best course of action. Levi appears in Liberio as Eren is almost pulled out of his nape by Porco Galliard's Jaw Titan. He swoops in and with one clean strike cuts his mouth, allowing Eren to be taken by Mikasa instead. Because of Levi's strength and his altercation against the Beast Titan, he seems to have amassed a certain level of infamy among the Marleyans, who refer to him and Mikasa as the Ackermans with fear in their voices. While he engages the Jaw Titan, he shifts his attention as the Beast appears. He also asks his comrades to not die on him and engages the Beast Titan. Instead of being an elaborate fight, however, Levi takes it down with one strike and one blow on the nape. While most members of the Survey Corps had switched their uniforms to all black, highly equipped outfits and carried thunder spears, Levi continued to stick to his roots as he sported the green cape with the emblem of the Wings of Liberty and mostly used swords instead of guns or thunder spears. Following the action, he helps Eren aboard their Zeppelin but kicks him continuously into the wall, claiming that Eren has a kickable face. Eren is also placed under arrest because his actions have led to the entirety of Paradise becoming a target, while Zeke is being held in a back room since he seemingly wishes to side with Paradise. Due to Zeke's plan benefiting Paradise, Levi claims that he'll hold off on slicing him into pieces, but his threats to kill the beast don't seem to stop. He even tells him about sending his corpse to Marley and revealing his true plan to the military, which would be the end of his grandparents, as Marley was seldom kind to the family members of Eldian traitors. Zeke is then taken to the Titan Forest and held hostage there with only one book and a few supplies. Levi keeps him there because the Titan Forest is the perfect place for using the ODM gear. He's also part of the group that wants to prevent Eren and Zeke from uniting, since Eren is operating against the Survey Corps and is aided by the faction known as the Jaegerists. Meanwhile, the Jaegerists consider Levi to be one of their greatest threats, since he's the strongest soldier and is directly opposing them. Levi dislikes Zeke, not just because Erwin had asked him to, but also because he believes that Zeke has no regard for human life. This is supported by Zeke telling him about turning the people of Ragako into titans using his spinal fluid. Soon, he learns of the death of Darius Zachary and realizes that all the sacrifices they made to protect Eren were in vain. In the end, Levi orders a capture of one of the Jaegerists, planning to feed Zeke to him. After Historia gives birth, he hopes to feed that Jaegerist to her. Meanwhile, wine from Marley had grown popular in Paradise, and all of Levi's subordinates wanted to drink. Reluctantly, Levi gives them the green signal, while he himself sticks to drinking tea. No one knows about the wine being spiked with Zeke's spinal fluid, which allows Zeke to turn the subjects of Ymir into titans. Levi continues to have a trade-off of insults with Zeke, but also gets lost in his thoughts about killing the Beast Titan and fulfilling his promise to Erwin. However, Zeke attempts to flee from the forest and Levi chases him down. Zeke roars and turns all of Levi's subordinates into pure titans to hold Levi off. Levi has to witness his comrades' faces in their titan forms and it catches him off guard, but he doesn't hesitate to take them down. But he does so as he closes his eyes so as not to see their faces while killing them. Zeke mocks him for slaughtering his subordinates, but Levi retorts, saying that he has no idea about how many of his own people Levi had to slaughter since the beginning. Using diversions and his exemplary strength, Levi ends the one-sided battle once again and detonates Zeke's nape with 4 thunder spears. He drags Zeke out of the forest and ties him up to a horse-drawn cart. He then places the tip of a thunder spear inside Zeke's stomach and attaches the fuse to his neck, which ensures its detonation if Zeke moves too much. Zeke asks for his glasses, which he wears not because he needs them, since Titan regeneration can heal poor eyesight, but because it's a memento from Tom Cassava. Zeke begins to murmur about his plan to euthanize the people of Eldia, and Levi mocks him for taking all the lives he has. Zeke tells him that he did everything to prevent the future generation from living in a cruel world, but an angry Levi cuts off his legs. Pushed to his limits, Zeke pulls the thunder spear in his stomach and causes it to explode, planning to sacrifice himself in the process of killing Levi. Because Levi doesn't have time to react, he gets caught in the explosion and is hurled towards a nearby river. Battle of Heaven and Earth, Levi reaching his conclusion. Shortly afterward, Levi's unconscious body is found by a group of Jaegerists, who are happy about their biggest threat being taken down. While they try to shoot him to ensure his death, Hanji's presence at the moment saves the day as she claims that Levi is already dead. Flock attempts to check for his pulse, but is soon distracted by Zeke emerging from a titan nearby, who had been healed by Ymir Fritz in the paths. Hanji takes advantage of the diversion and escapes with Levi's body. Once safe, Hanji begins to stitch Levi's wounds. His face was terribly scarred from the debris. He lost an eye and 2 of the main fingers on the right, which he used to grab the swords. While he's in a coma, Hanji talks about Levi surviving the explosion due to him being an Ackerman. Meanwhile, Zeke manages to reach Eren and unite with him, which leads to Eren gaining the powers of the founding Titan without Karl Fritz's vow binding him. As he addresses all the subjects of Ymir and tells them about his plans to initiate the rumbling, Levi finds himself hearing his message in the paths, which wakes him up from his coma. Naturally, Levi and Hanji plan to stop Eren, and the latter creates a makeshift transport to locomote an injured Levi. They soon come face to face with Piek and Theo Magath. Due to them having the common goal of killing Zeke and stopping Eren from destroying the world outside Paradise, the 2 sides form an alliance. During most of the ensuing action, Levi took to the sidelines due to his injuries while the younger members fought the battles. He was forced to witness and side with female Titan, who had previously slaughtered his comrades because he had no other choice. Throughout everything, he also solely focuses on his desire to kill Zeke and cares for it more than he cares for the rumbling. After the alliance reaches Odaya, Levi begins to walk and gears up for battle, refusing to rest any longer. While the others are concerned over how he'll fight with his injuries, he claims that he'll manage something. They head towards Fort Salter after learning that it was where Eren is heading towards, and once he arrives with his horde of colossal titans, Hanji volunteers to hold them off. Levi knows that with this, Hanji will have to sacrifice herself, making Levi the only one from his generation to survive. Instead of stopping her, however, she tells her to dedicate her heart, since Levi's goal has always been to make the deaths of his comrades count. With Hanji's death, they'll get a step closer to it. And unlike before, they're not throwing darts in the dark since they know the truth about the Titans and the world. The Alliance then commences a battle atop Eren's founding Titan structure, where the Beast Titan attacks them with a series of projectiles. It's defeated quickly, but Zeke is still alive since he's nowhere to be found. Eren, using the powers of the Founder and his connection to the Paths, begins to bring back Titan shifters from the past to keep the Alliance busy in battle. Meanwhile, Armin is taken by one of the Titan shifters since his transformation into the Colossal Titan can jeopardize the Founding Titan by causing Zeke's death, because Eren needs Zeke to maintain his powers over the Coordinate as a result of Zeke's royal lineage. Unfortunately, the appearance of Bertolt's Colossal Titan marks worse news for Levi, who has to suffer from the impact of the Titan throwing Reiner's armored Titan towards the Alliance. He also heads in to save Connie from being devoured, but his leg gets caught in the Titan's jaw, incapacitating his lower body. He's saved by Mikasa, but begins to lose consciousness due to the pain. However, he's soon saved by Connie, marking how the future generation is now looking after him, like he had when they were 15 years old in the Survey Corps. The Alliance begins to argue over attacking Eren's nape or saving Armin, but Levi advises they split up into groups to do both. He also tells Mikasa that they're not in a position to save Eren anymore. However, Levi is worn down over the fact that his injuries have left him in a position where he can't be of much use in battle. He even laments over not being able to carry out Erwin's order to kill Zeke, but he tells himself that he doesn't regret saving Armin over Erwin. This is because his comrades had sacrificed themselves for the Survey Corps mission, because their eyes were full of hope. It was a hope that Levi and Erwin didn't have. Armin had the same look in his eyes, which made him have no regrets over saving Armin. Soon after, Zeke emerges from Eren's spine and calls out to Levi. He gets his final moment, and despite his injuries, Levi rushes to Zeke and decapitates him without hesitation. With this, he finally manages to kill Zeke once and for all. The plans of the Alliance continue to proceed, and they save Armin. However, they're all disappointed to see that Eren and the source of all living matter have survived the explosions, which leaves them with only one option, and that's to kill Eren. The source begins to emit smoke, turning all subjects of Ymir, except the Titan shifters and Ackermans, into pure Titans. Because Falco can fly, he takes Mikasa and Levi to Eren, as Mikasa deduces that he's inside the head of the Titan. Levi motivates Mikasa to fight through her unbearable headache and aids her in battle, using a thunder spear to break open Eren's mouth, allowing Mikasa to enter and slice Eren's nape. As the battle of heaven and earth comes to an end, so does the power of the Titans. Levi rests against a rock and sees the vision of all his fallen comrades standing in front of him. This is the moment they've all sacrificed themselves for, and Levi has seen it to its end, fighting to ensure the future he wished to create. In a very emotional moment, Levi puts his hand on his heart as he returns his salute to his comrades, with tears running down his face. 3 years later, we see that Levi has taken up residency in Mali. Due to his injuries, he's bound to a wheelchair, but is attended to by Gabi and Falco. Marvelous verdict. With this, the story of Levi Ackerman comes to a close. His story is disheartening, but also hopeful. He's the only one from his generation to survive, but he carries the light his comrades have sacrificed themselves for. Despite him often coming off as a cold character, Levi is extremely emotional and truly understands the value of human life as a whole. It wouldn't be a stretch to say that his storyline had one of the best conclusions in Attack on Titan. What are your thoughts on this video? Do you want to see more detailed and elaborate videos on Attack on Titan? Let us know in the comments below, and till then, have a fantastic day.